Hello, good morning. Oh, it seems somewhat dark, but it looks all right there now. How are you doing? Here we are at the start of a new week, and I love Mondays. I don't know whether you like Mondays. I like Mondays. There you are. Can't help it. It's just who I am. I don't know why. I don't know why I like Mondays. I suppose I like Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursdays and Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays as well. But there you go. So yeah, here we are on Monday, and here we are talking about the usual stuff: self-care, productivity, well-being, all them kind of things that I like to talk about. And it's been busy. It's been a busy weekend. I've started setting some time aside to establish the social media stuff on a weekend, so it's all ready to go during the week, rather than doing it kind of on the fly. So that's been my new thing. Preparing all that stuff in advance. I do a lot of preparation in advance of a lot of stuff. Social media's never been one of those things, but I'm up in the ante with that kind of thing. And I've got a new Patreon setup, whatever it's called, page, whatever. And it's Patreon, patreon.com/Stephen J. Mordew. No dots or anything in that, all one word. I don't know whether it matters too much, but the S, the J, and the M are all in capitals. I'll stick it in the show notes underneath this. I'll stick it in there. And I'm launching it with a free guided meditation on Thursday. So if you head over there, I'm going to do a free guided meditation online on Thursday at 8:15 on the medium that is Zoom. So I'm going to do that. And I've launched tier 1, level 1 of the Patreon thing. And I'm going to get to the point in a bit. Skip on about a minute, and then you'll hit the actual content for today rather than this advert. If you're interested, £3 a month it's down as there at the minute. £3 a month. You're going to get access to a special podcast, more guided meditation, a live, some live stuff as well as the tiers emerge. So there's all sorts going on there. So what you will at least get, or is a copy of a PDF copy of the Managing Emails book. Very good. I mean, that's up there for £3 anyway. So there you go. First month pays for itself. And then access to the guided meditation. It's free on Thursday, and it might be free for a little while, but eventually I'll move it on to that level. For £3 a month, once a week guided meditation. That's coppers. Absolutely nothing. Anyway, enough of this. I hate doing that kind of stuff, but I'm told I have to. So click like if you like what I do. Click follow. I tell you what would be really, really good. What I would really love that I need to work on and need to kind of develop is go and follow the YouTube channels. Either this one, this is on self-care shorts, or if you're a social worker, or even if you're not a social worker but you're interested, the social work shorts one as well. Go and give me go and subscribe to those channels. That's really good. I'd like to do so much more with the YouTube channels, but to get to a lot of the stuff, you need 1,000 subscribers. Well, I think I'm around about like 40 or something. But there you go. But so if you do that, that'd be a real help. If you like what I do, and one or two people do, and I love that. I love that 1 or 2 people do. That makes me very happy. It makes me glow all warm and fuzzy inside. So anyway, have a look at those things. But anyway, today, the crack today was kind of this thing about well-being. This thing about transitioning to well-being. How do we transition to well-being? Well, I suppose if I just tell you a little bit about my journey, I suppose I've always ran, I've always exercised, I've always took seriously what I eat, even though I haven't always been successful. I've always took seriously what I eat. I've always kept repositioning myself back in a healthy diet. I've always been fortunate enough to sleep for the most part quite well. But I know lots of people don't. So how do you transition to well-being? Where do you start? Well, one of the key things is small steps, right? Okay, because if you're trying to turn around a disorganized way of working, a disorganized way of living, if you're trying to turn around feeling anxious and stressed all the time, if you're trying to turn those things around, you're not going to turn those things around overnight. is the reality of the situation. It's small steps over a long time, but small steps over a long time lead to great results. Just as some examples, I think I would say when I started the productivity drive, which started with David Allen's trusted system from his book Getting Things Done: The Art of Stress-Free Productivity. When I started with that, I think it took me 3 months to get my system up and running, and then I substantially modified my system twice beyond that. But I got the system up and running that time, but it took time. It took time was the point. And anybody who engages in exercise will know that my example would be, if I don't go for a run for a couple of weeks, I'm back to square one. But it then takes months to get that back. Now, I'm not a naturally athletic type, so that might just be me. Some people might get back to it quicker, but it just feels as though I miss a few sessions, and all of a sudden I'm back to square one. And then it takes massive amounts of effort and massive amounts of time to get back up to the level you were at before. It is achievable, it is doable. That's why it's important to take things slowly and take things gradually. Work. It's that thing about, working at a consistent pace at things, not overdoing it. Because if you overdo it, exercise is a good example of this, isn't it? If you decide, if you've never been to the gym and you decide you're going to go to the gym, and you go to the gym every day, about the third or fourth day, maybe you're going to be so sore, you're going to never want to go back to the gym again. But if you go twice a week, and then you do that for a couple of weeks, 3 or 4 weeks maybe, and then you go 3 times a week, and you build it up gradually. There's a great quote. The author's name skips my mind for the moment, but he says, if you show your body what you want it to do gradually, it will adapt. And it does, but you've got to do it gradually. But anyway, I thought with this question transition into well-being, I brought some people to mind, and I thought, I wonder what they'd say about this. And these are some of the people who, for various reasons and in different ways, I really admire. And the first one is Simon Sinek. If you've not come across Simon Sinek before, you need to have a bit of a look at his work. He's really good. And Sinek would probably say, particularly in the workplace, because that's where that's what he does most of his thinking about, would say prioritizing your mental and emotional well-being would be the way to foster well-being, overall, in terms of feeling in control of your productivity, in control of your stress level. So Sinek would probably point to mental and emotional health, and he would point to organizations supporting the mental and emotional well-being of employees. Because if you're mentally and emotionally emotionally agile, then you'll do quite well. And then I thought of Stephen Bartlett. I love Stephen Bartlett. I don't watch the Dragon's Den thing particularly. I watch it from time to time if I just happen to catch it, and I quite like it. He's really interesting. He would take the other view to Simon Sinek, and he would probably say, because I've heard him talk about this, I've heard him talk about the fact that he has the interviewer was asking him all these things. You've got all these wonderful things, wonderful family life, wonderful, this company, that company, this role on Dragon, all the which is the most important thing to you? And he said, well, none of them really, because the most important thing is having a balanced and healthy lifestyle, about fitness and nutrition. Because what he said was, which I think is really important, is that without being healthy, without getting your nutrition right, so you're fueled well, without being physically well, all those other things suddenly start to tumble like a domino effect. Suddenly your family life's not as good because you're not feeling good. Suddenly work's not as good. Suddenly you're not as motivated. So you've got Sinek talking about mental and emotional health, and Bartlett talking about physical health. So that starts to hint at something, doesn't it? And then I pondered, because I've been thinking about physical fitness, I always think about David Goggins. David Goggins, the Navy SEAL, mentioned him before. He would talk about the importance of pushing your limits and overcoming challenge. And I like this. The Stoic philosophy thing, isn't it? Of the obstacle is the way. Where do you need to go? What do you need to do next? well, you need to overcome the thing that's in front of you, and that's what he would say. I love it when he says, uh, you don't want to go for a run, go for a run. You don't want to go to the gym, go to the gym. Really like that. So he talked about building mental strength. Similar, I suppose, in many ways to Simon Sinek talking about mental and emotional well-being, but he talked about building mental strength, the strength to keep going, the strength to persevere. Now I think you can take that too far. I think sometimes Goggins does. You can take that too far. I think sometimes you need to kind of go, whoa, I'm just going to take a minute here. I'm not going to do that today from time to time, but I get the point. I get his point. Life is hard. Exercising is hard. Sticking to the task is hard. Pushing yourself is hard. But I genuinely think people do want to have themselves physically, emotionally, and psychologically stretched, but not to breaking point, which Goggins has done to himself. And then I thought with David Allen, I've mentioned David Allen already. I love David Allen. What would he say? Well, and he'd say just by being structured about how you manage your tasks will ultimately lead to personal well-being. Well, it would, wouldn't it? He often talks about work, or usually talks about in the workplace, but really in terms of planning and being organized in terms of your exercise or your nutrition or all those kind of things. Planning your rest. I was talking the other day, wasn't I? Was that just yesterday where I was talking about, getting things in your calendar, even when you're going to take a break. Get those things in, because if you don't, you'll forget. You just keep working, and that's not good for you. So David Allen would talk about structuring your throughput of work, your throughput of life, really, into a structured plan. And then my other favorite, Andrew Huberman. Seriously, I think all these people have got podcasts. They're on podcasts. Huberman certainly has a podcast, and I'm sure the rest will. We all have a podcast these days, don't we? Everybody's a podcaster. Huberman, well, he'd talk about relaxation, I suppose. He'd talk about relaxation techniques. He talks about lots of stuff, but I think one of the things he would talk about, different to the rest, is he talked about meditation, mindfulness. Or he talked about optimizing your sleep. Definitely. He definitely talked about optimizing your sleep. So managing your stress through that, promoting your productivity through that, through managing all of those things, relaxation, etc. Now, what this tells me is, because I have no truck with any of those answers, but what it tells me is that you're interested in what works for you. I think that's really interesting. What works for Goggins is pushing himself to the limit. Clearly, what works for Bartlett is the exercise. What works for David Allen, is the being organized. He just looks like a top organized guy when you see him in action. He just looks as though he's in control, So they've all got their thing, and the others are the same. Sinek and Huberman are the same. They've all got their thing. And the way that strikes me is that when we talk about well-being, transitioning to well-being, well, first of all, this is right up Simon Sinek Street as well. First of all, you've got to figure out what well-being is for you. So what's your well-being why? Sinek might phrase it as, you know what I mean? Why do you want to be in well-being? Why do you just want to go through life? Something's feeling a bit crappy. Something's feeling a bit all right. Why is that not all right? You get to eat what you want. You don't have to bother going to the gym. You don't have to bother kind of structuring your life, all of which is hard work, So if you don't know why you're doing this, if you've not got an internal why, then you're probably going to struggle. So the point being, well-being is different to us all. So what makes you well is not what makes me well, I suppose having children. So some people love going to the park with their kids and seeing their kids run about and spending lots of time with their kids and that kind of thing, And other people, well, they talk like this, but maybe it's not true. They talk as though that's some sort of chore sometimes. I hear that, whereas some people find it really refreshing to settle down with their children and do things. Other people see it, and that's probably a consequence of all other factors going on in their lives, isn't it? Lots of other factors that mean when they come home to their children, they're stressed. So there's probably another reason why it is that they kind of don't see that as relaxing and therapeutic, I suppose, maybe. So, but the idea is that what some people see as a chore, like exercise, another good example. What some people see as a chore, other people get loads out of. I find it hard to drive myself to go to the gym, but when I go, I feel great. It's one of the one things that always results in me feeling good. I went for a run yesterday and it was atrocious. I'm on some medication at the minute that's causing me a bit of breathing problems and stuff. Nothing to worry about, nothing, but I went out for a run yesterday and it was torture because I had to keep stopping because I was a bit breathless. And I hate doing that. But when I got back and after I got back and had a shower, I felt wonderful all night. So even doing something like that where it doesn't go particularly well, was still had a positive outcome. So for other people, it'll be getting their spreadsheet in order of all the things they want to do. For other people, it'll be kind of cooking a healthy meal or whatever, different things. But anyway, the point is that to be well-being is not a universal thing. Well-being is something very specific to us. However, all of those things I mentioned, mental and emotional health, exercise, pushing yourself, organizing your life, structuring your life effectively, like David Allen would suggest, and the relaxation that Huberman talks about, all of those things have to be in there to some extent or other. You'll need them in a different mix depending on who you are, but all of them need to be in there. There you go. So enjoy the week, and have a think about your own well-being. If we don't think about these things, we never do anything about them, and we never move forward. And in moving forward, think of things you can do that just get you those little incremental gains all the time. And hey, in a year's time, flying. See you soon.